Hello, everyone. Welcome to Small Biz Tips. Today, guys, I have a gentleman that I met at an event. I was blown away by what he was doing. I had to bring him on board. Landon, what's up, man?
I'm amazing, man. I'm super blessed for you having me on. Look,
I
I'm
appreciate you. So, so, Landon, tell us some about more before we jump onto, what you got going on. Who is Landon?
Landon is a leader. He is a real estate entrepreneur. He
Mhm.
is a older brother. He's a son of two loving parents. A fun, charismatic, creative human being out here just trying to make an impact on people. That's who Landon is.
I love it. I love it. So, I'm curious, right? Because when we chat, we kind of randomly met at the end of the networking event, and
Yeah.
you were talking about you have a software company, right? So how'd you get into the tech space?
I, so it's interesting because I've always been interested in real estate, and real estate
Okay.
is everything that I've always wanted to do. And
Mm-hmm.
uh, once I got into the real estate space, I discovered Airbnb. And
Mm.
think about how Airbnb is a tech company.
Yeah.
Airbnb is tech based. They don't own any real estate. So
Yeah.
when I own real estate and then I use the Airbnb platform that allows for me to leverage my owned real estate through technology to get bookings, you then discover the technology side of the entire, landscape. So then
Mm-hmm.
after, like, I'm the type of person, I want to solve problems, I want to help people. That's pretty much it. Like, clear cut, solve problems and help people. And
I
they
love
both
it.
they both go together. The only way that you can help someone is to solve their problem. So
Yes.
when I'm looking at what Airbnb has and the different technologies that people leverage to help people maybe improve their listing optimization or their scheduling or their bookings or their pricing. I by accident got really good at helping people get properties. I helped
Mm-hmm.
simply was just really good at helping people get properties because I knew property owners. I was
Mm.
a property owner myself. I knew what the problems that a property owner was dealing with, and I knew the problems that someone that was wanting to get into Airbnb was dealing with. And
Okay.
so you look at Airbnb itself, you're like, okay, cool. You have the property owner themselves who has the property, and then you have the Airbnb operator that doesn't want to own a property. They want to rent a property and put
Mm-hmm.
it on Airbnb. So you're like, all right, cool. Well, this person is not a real estate investor, the Airbnb operator, nor do they know how to talk to a property owner, but I know how to do that. So the only way for me to help these people is to help them get properties and just be the middleman and connect them with the property owner. So when you think about the technology side of Airbnb in general, how Airbnb technology platforms leverage the Airbnb space,
Yeah.
they all are just solving problems, but it's all technology. So the only way for me to take what I know how to do for other people and
Yeah.
put it all together is I have to use technology and leverage technology to help people. And so it turned in for me just simply helping people get their, first property approved for Airbnb to putting it all together, package it into a platform that allows people to go on the platform to just
Wow.
already find these properties that are already approved for Airbnb. And so a lot of the software is just like us doing like the follow up for people, helping people stay in contact with the property owners.
Mm.
And there's things like follow up where people don't even know we're following up with the property owner on their,
Wow. That's
um,
amazing.
you know,
So
like, yeah, I could go on, but
no, no, no. This is good. This is good. So basically, because a lot of people are starting an Airbnb business, if this is my understanding of this, right? Um, they're looking for properties,
right,
and there's a lot of property owners that has properties that they don't know how to put it on Airbnb because they don't want to be Airbnb rent, host.
right.
So you serve as that, I guess, that bridge. You're kind of like a marketplace, in my opinion.
Yeah,
That's bringing those two together.
yeah, yep.
Interesting.
Yeah,
So
the property owner that wants to lease their property for rent for can sign
yeah,
a 12-month lease or however long.
yeah,
The person that wants to sublease their property. So that Airbnb
gotcha.
property that wants to rent from them, sign a 12-month lease or whatever, and then sublease their property to Airbnb guests. So yeah, so like we are the middleman, the matchmaker.
Gotcha. So you're like the I guess you You that secret weapon that a lot of people needed when they first got into Airbnb arbitrage.
Yeah. Yeah, all the stories that you hear about people saying, "Oh, I was thinking about starting an Airbnb business, but I couldn't find
Yeah.
a partner that allowed Airbnb." Like,
Yes.
if we existed back then we would have been the one that they went
You
to
you
start.
solved that problem for them.
Yep.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So tell me more about that journey because it it's one thing to help, but like owning a software business has a lot of different lessons and challenges,
Sure.
right? What has been some of your lesson owning that platform, and what have you seen that has worked well for Airbnb hosts? Like, kind of give us a little bit more insiders.
Yeah. So, like, I would say like the easiest part for like the best way that we've seen Airbnb hosts make decisions is
Mm-hmm.
if one, it solves their biggest problem, one, it's efficient, and then
Mm-hmm.
another thing is they don't have to do a lot of work. And we've also seen areas where they don't have to spend as much. See, when you're
Mm.
starting your Airbnb business,
Yeah.
you're investing thousands of dollars towards rent, security deposit, and then even
Yeah.
furniture. So you're already putting a lot of money up front. And what we used to do is we used to charge thousands of dollars for someone to get their first property. And we
Mm-hmm.
realized that that cost itself was keeping people from going forward because they knew they had to invest even more
Yeah.
money and then invest in the rent, security deposit, and furniture.
Exactly.
So we started noticing is when we would lower our price, continue to lower our price, more and more people would be interested. But
Mm.
the issue that we started facing with that is our price was so low, we were solving the biggest problem. The only way for someone to get into the business was to get a property approved for Airbnb. We noticed that, and people were like, "This is too good to be true. It's no way you guys are charging this
Wow.
amount for this big of a problem." And in fact, we are. But the issue on our side of things is like we, for a long time, we were not profitable. So what people don't realize is
Mm.
we were actually losing money trying to
Wow.
help people to get into the business so that they didn't have to spend a lot of money. Like it's paid off at this point, but I'm just saying,
Yeah.
you know,
Let me. Wow.
we were losing so much money, and that just kind of just is what comes in. Like that's what you deal with. I feel like when you're trying to leverage technology to help people, like the technology and operating it and everything like that, it costs so much, uh, in the beginnings, but
Mm-hmm.
once you build the trust and once people start trusting you and once people start using you and recognizing you and knowing you and talking about you and things like that, you just grow. Like our affiliate program is huge. So like over time, people just started knowing who we were and they
Yeah.
wanted to use us. But in the beginning, like we had to deal with it's I've never heard of this before, or this is too good to be true, or it's no way you guys are doing this. Like even from both sides, like property owners as
Yeah.
well, we're not only trying to get people that want to do Airbnb, but we're trying to tell property owners that, hey, I know you never heard of us. I know you only know about Zillow, but
Mm.
we actually serve the market for sublease. They're like, why haven't I heard you guys? Why haven't I seen you there? Like you mentioned, you saw a property owner talk about us on, Bigger Pockets. It's like
Yeah.
that type of stuff has to happen for us to, be
Yeah.
recognized because property owners are like, I've never heard of you guys. Like, why am
So
I just not hearing you about you guys?
why don't we share what's the name of your company? Because I think a lot of people have been listening now. They're probably wondering, okay, what's the name of this company?
Yeah. Yeah. So the company's called ZFind,
Okay,
ZI-Find, FIND.
nice. So
Yeah.
zfind.com is where anybody can go to see it. Now,
Yes.
I want to go a step further, right? You mentioned earlier you guys were losing money because you were building the user base. Um, how was that process, right? Because a lot of people, you know, will it, you have to grow both sides.
Right.
So what has been the marketing that has worked for you guys to allow you to grow both sides? I know it's word of mouth, but have you done anything else on top of that? And what are some of the lessons you learned when you were growing both sides to where it is now? And by the way, are you comfortable sharing how many users you guys have on the platform now?
Yeah, yeah, I'll definitely share everything. So, so we used to run ads, and when we
Okay.
ran ads on social media, what we dealt with was people would come to us, and majority of the people that we would reach by running ads were people that were just getting started. But
Mm,
the people that are just getting started, they're not the best people to make the best decisions. So
Okay.
there were a lot of hold up in them making proper decisions because they didn't have the education on what property to choose, what property could help them make the most money. Like these are things that an experienced operator would know how to do
Yeah.
to make the best decisions. So we stopped running ads for a while. And what we started getting into was working with coaches. It kind of happened accidental. A coach reached out to
Gotcha.
us and said, "Hey, like what you guys have is amazing. Like I would love to offer this to my students." And so that was an accidental play that we got into. And what we realized is even though some of these students are still not as educated as we would like,
Mm-hmm.
we know for a fact that they are becoming educated. And
Mm,
so by understanding that itself, we know that the decisions that these people make on our platform is at
mm-hmm.
least interesting because they know and they're learning what to do. They're
Yeah.
learning to make those good decisions.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So after realizing that, we just focused fully on working with coaches, getting building our affiliate program, and just having coaches send us, students where
Wow.
they would sign up and then they would, make decisions based off of their education. But the other side to it that we started realizing over time
Yeah.
is like every coach teaches a different thing, but also you have to be mindful of which coaches you're going after because
Mm,
maybe if you have all these students that only know how to do Airbnb and they're selecting properties based off of what they know about the short-term rental business, and there's properties that are suitable for, mid-term rentals or
mm.
other type of strategy with Airbnb, then not all your inventory is being taken up. And I want all the inventory being taken up, but the amount of inventory that is taken up is solely based off of what the student knows. I know how
Gotcha.
to look at a property and be like, oh, I can make money in Airbnb, VRBO, Google,
Yeah.
working with insurance companies, working with
Yeah.
sports teams, working like, I can look at a property like that, but like not everybody knows that. So it's about finding those different coaches to help take that type
Gotcha.
of inventory because you're just going to have inventory that it may be a great property, great
Mm-hmm.
location, but nobody wants to take it because it's not in Dallas, Texas, or it's not in
It's not
it's
just
not
major cities
right, right.
because
So
they don't know how to monetize it.
exactly, exactly.
Wow. So let's talk about that, right? The monetization, I think, is huge. Um, I had Airbnbs before, and I found ways to monetize them by putting them on the Airbnb platform, by partnering with insurance company, but
Right.
not everybody knows that. You mentioned something earlier about when somebody's said, okay, I want to get into this Airbnb business. I don't want to buy a property. I want to start by, doing subleasing or Airbnb arbitrage. As the expert in a space, what would be that first 3 to 4 steps they need to do?
Um, can you like kind of clarify the
Yeah,
questions?
yeah, I clarify a little bit. So let's say, I'm starting an Airbnb business. I don't want to buy a property yet. I want to sublease. And I heard about your platform, right? Um, but you mentioned something earlier, like there are great properties that's not in the major cities. Let's say I found one that's not in a major city. What is like, how do you, because you mentioned something earlier, how do you go about thinking, oh, you could get a sports team in there, you could get insurance, kind of give us a little bit more details on how would that person should be educated to decide, okay, this is how I want to use this platform.
So they won't know right off the bat
Mm-hmm.
if they'll be able to do with the property if they don't know what to do. So like
Mm,
to kind of just use common sense and just say, okay, great. Like, so if this property right here is in Arlington, Texas,
yeah,
and I only know how to do Airbnb, well, let me think. The Cowboys Stadium is in Arlington, Texas. There's a lot of events that happen at the Cowboys Stadium.
gotcha. I see the thought process. Okay.
Like, I don't have to know how to get those people, but if I
Yeah,
know where the property is at, then I can at least take the action because I can figure out if I'm paying rent on this property every month,
yeah.
I'm gonna figure out how to get more bookings.
Monetize. Yeah.
Like that's how that's how someone should think in the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
but they won't even know to think like that if they don't even know that it's possible,
Mm,
right? So like they have to learn that it's possible first before they can even think about that because it's not like I don't want to say like someone that's unaware with the whole sports thing and like how sports people travel and how um TV analysts travel and how journalists travel, things like that.
Wow.
Like if someone
That's
doesn't understand that, then they're not
yeah.
even gonna know to even look for that. Like so alone, like and that's why like I've told you, like me, like building a community for
Yeah.
like educating people, like that's why these things are important because people need to know these things. I talked to someone who is going to talk in our community who does student housing, like
Hmm.
properties near universities. Like I don't hear
That's
people talking
huge.
about that. Like
Nah,
I don't hear
you
people
know, it's
talking.
funny. I'm glad you said that because a lot of time you hear student housing is buying the
Right,
building and turn it into student housing. I
right,
never hear no one talking about doing a midterm or short-term rental for student housing.
exactly.
That's huge.
Exactly.
Wow.
So like a lot of coaches aren't teaching these things. They're teaching Airbnb because Airbnb is the marketing
Yeah.
word. It's the word for selling the course. So it's like these you can leverage the our platform in so many ways if you knew all the ways that you can leverage the property itself. So
Yeah.
it's a challenge. I don't think it's gonna happen overnight. I think it's gonna take another 5, 10 years because
Mm,
the corporate housing space has been around before Airbnb even came about. Midterm rentals has been around before
yeah.
Airbnb was even around, and midterm rentals is starting to become hot. So it's like it's starting to become hot because so many people are using Airbnb. So like these are things that are gonna take a while to accomplish, and I'm willing to stick around until
I love
people
it.
recognize.
So I'm curious. You mentioned because not a lot of people know what that term is, right? You have short-term rental and midterm rental. What's the difference?
Short-term rental is renting a property for under 30 days. So
Gotcha.
staying at the property for under 30 days. Midterm rentals is someone staying at the property for over 30 days, but
Mm-hmm.
not a year, like not a full year.
Gotcha.
So
Gotcha. Gotcha.
a year or more is long-term rentals.
So as you build that software business, what has been your biggest success, right? How big is the platform now in terms of users? And what has been your biggest lesson?
Um, so I know this sounds weird, but the success, like success to me doesn't lie in money generated.
Mm,
Like, you know, like success it doesn't equate to money to me. Success equates to impact. How many people am I impacting, helping every
I
single
like that.
day, every single month, right?
Yeah.
How many property owners, like how many property owners properties am I getting leased out every single day, every single month? Like that's success to me. I haven't even achieved what I want at that capacity.
Not yet.
I'll tell you, like my goal for property owners is 50,000 properties leased every single month. So like
Wow.
I'm a long way from that. Like like
Yeah.
that's what success looks like to me. So like until I can get to that point, that's 50,000 properties leased every month is 50,000 people getting leases every single month. Like that's
Mm,
that's a I don't know when that'll happen, but that's what success looks like to me.
I
The
love
amount
it.
of
I love the
users,
vision.
the amount of users that we have, if that is an achievement at 50,000, then 50,000 users is where we'll be at. So like,
Mm,
and then what equates from the 50,000 users is the money that is generated from that. But the money that's generated from it is not what success is to me. The
yeah.
success
It's
is
the
the
impact.
impact that we leave on the
I like
people
that.
in the platform. So that's what keeps me going because
I like
the
that.
money amount, the money amount is like, oh, like I have a lot of money now, I can do all these type of things, but that's not what equates to success for me. Like that, the money is the tool that allows me to reinvest back into the business to create more success for the people that are using the platform. So like that's
Ooh,
how I look at it, right?
I
Uh,
like that.
and then your other question was,
The lessons learned.
mm,
Biggest one.
um, I would say really dialing in on the customer
Mm,
was something that kind of held us back in the start. Um, because when you think of Airbnb, someone getting started in Airbnb, you just assume that everybody is your customer. And like I mentioned, like
yeah.
everybody wasn't a customer. We were trying to figure out why people wasn't getting properties, and it wasn't because we wasn't solving the problem. It's just because they didn't know how to make the right decision.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that was probably the biggest thing. Like we learned money management definitely, because kind of out of nowhere we kind of blew up in a sense internally,
Mm,
privately. Like there's still not a lot of people that know about us, but in the coach to student community,
yeah.
people know about us. Like I've talked to people that don't know who I am, but they have heard of Z Find. Like
Yeah. I've
that's
seen the
cool,
platform.
right? So it's like that's cool, but dial in on this on the customer itself is something that we could have spent more time on. I think we were just kind of naive of like, oh, it's just people that want to get started in Airbnb and it makes sense. But it's like, no, it's the person, it's a difference between the person that has been doing this and still needs help getting properties versus the
Yeah.
person that has not been doing this, doesn't know what type of decision to make, and they need properties. Matter of fact, some of these people don't even know that it's even hard to connect with property owners. They haven't even gone through that part to even
Yeah.
know that
Yeah.
part,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So it's like,
It's
why,
different stages to it. And
right?
now I get it. I'm glad you shared that because a lot of us small business owners got to think about, got to dial in on our customer base, and that's gonna help with the growth that we're looking for.
Exactly.
So we definitely gonna have you to come back for a second round, my friend, because I'm seeing the time is running. Now, what is that, in your experience as an entrepreneur, what is that one small biz tip that you would share with any entrepreneurs that you think that can help them in their journey?
Focus on client acquisition first.
Mm,
Focus on cash flow, profitability
mhm.
before you think about scaling.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
That's this fantastic. How do people reach you? I know Z Fine, if you want to share that again. What's the best way? Somebody said, "Oh, I've been, getting a few properties. It's been hard getting some sublease. I never heard of this platform. I need to check it out." Give us the deets.
Yeah, for sure. So you can reach me at Real Brazil, Real Brazil on Instagram.
Mhm.
That'll be the best way to see anything short form or like DM me or anything like that. I definitely like posting on my YouTube channel, Landon Brazil. It like you'll get to understand how my mind has worked over the past few years and how I've
Mm,
implemented things in my business based off of how I think. You can
nice.
get a more broad view of how I think on my YouTube channel. But those are the
Awesome.
best ways to connect with me. And if you're looking to get into Airbnb business and get your first property, then you can go to zfind.com and fill out the form. If you don't decide to like make a move on a property, you're trying to figure things out, our team will reach out to you and you can talk to our team about anything. Talk to our
I love it. I love it. Guys, check out Landon. Check out ZFind, ZI-Find.com. As you can see, he has revolutionized the Airbnb arbitrage space. Thank you for coming on, man.
Thank you.
All right.